Well, good morning, Central. I am so glad that you're here. I want to welcome you, and I also want to welcome on any of our campuses, wherever you are. I say this all the time. We are one church. We're spread out all over the valley, and we wouldn't be who we are without you. So welcome to you. And also, if you're watching this online, wherever you are, man, it's great to have you along with us as well. So let's do this. Let's open our Bibles right now to the book of Hebrews. Just take a moment to find that and hold that. We will be there in just a few moments. And we are continuing a series that we started about 3 weeks ago now. It's in the book of Hebrews, and we're calling it Something Better. Something Better. The whole theme of the book of Hebrews is about Jesus. And the whole point of the book of Hebrews is that he's something better. And I'll make that make as much sense as I can make here in the next few moments. But that is what the whole book is about. Jesus is the best you can get. And the scripture is very, very clear. You know, it's interesting, though, for a lot of us, the idea of something better, sometimes we're reluctant to come along with something better. The idea of something better, there's a reticence, a resistance that a lot of us have. We just like it the way it was, and we don't like change. It's just a common truth about people. We don't like change. And so if you need to find your way, you know, there's a location somewhere in Arizona you want to find, there's a tendency to want to go this route, yes? You remember when this was the only way you could find your way anywhere? You remember, and you pull this thing out and you look, and it's not much detail, and then when you finally got the direction, you're going to go down the 17, and then you're going to get to the 89, and then you're going to get on the 89A, and then you're going to turn left, and you figure that all out. And then you remember the process when you felt like you had a direction? Remember this? I got to show you something, man. There's something they've come out with something. I think this is so unbelievably cool. It's going to be, I'm telling you, you need to get a hold of this. You're going to go, wow, why didn't I get one of these sooner? Because this brand new technology just hit. And I mean to tell you, this is incredible. You don't have to fold anything. You just, it's a book now. And all of the maps are inside the book. And this is so cool. This is so amazing. And so literally every street, all you got to do is you got to go to the very back, and you have to know the alphabet. That's a bummer, these days. But you got to know the alphabet, and then you have to find the street, and then what you have to do is you have to look over, and it'll give you a number and a letter. Actually a couple numbers. It'll tell you the page, and then it'll say something like L14. And so you know that when you get to that page, you find L14, you go over to the L, you go down to the 14, and that somewhere in that region is the thing you're looking for. I mean, guys, this is awesome. You need to get one of these. Now, obviously, you're sharp enough to know this is a whole line of stupid that I'm talking here. Because we did this forever. After we got done with that, we went to this. Then we went to MapQuest. Remember MapQuest? And you'd actually punch something in, and then it would print out, and it would tell you. And nobody's using MapQuest today because now we have this. I mean, this would be really, really cool if you could just speak into it and say, hey, can you find me? And then say an address, and it just found the page for you. I mean, that'd be awesome. And wouldn't it be cool if you were looking at something and you go, I just can't get enough detail, and you could just do this? Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, folks, obviously, we don't use these anymore because we've got something better. And so the technology that's on your phone, and, I don't know, I know you're aware of this, but have you ever really stopped to think about how many things this thing has replaced? And again, we could do a long list. We won't do that. So this is a short list. There's a lot more than this. But you think about this. You never have to carry a camera anymore. You always have a camera with you. Anything you want to photograph, you have a camera. If you want to take a video, do you remember when you used to have that big shoulder thing? And you'd lug that thing around, and you'd have to put the big tape in. Remember all of this? And then this goes with you everywhere you go. And again, we can keep going. If you need I want to make a recording, and so you can do voice recording. Remember when you had the reel-to-reel, and and you speak into a mic? Remember when, like, you needed a calculator, and you'd actually, have to go wait until you could get, and you'd have that machine? I could just keep going. This is so much better than what we used to have. But if somebody came along and actually did what I just did and meant it and said, no, don't go with this, go with this, you would look at them and you would say, what is wrong with you? Are you serious? Are you seriously trying to convince me to go back to this? If you can understand what I'm saying right now, you will understand the book of Hebrews. The book of Hebrews is about a group of people trying to convince people, go back to the Old Testament ways of doing things. Go back. That's where it's at. And don't embrace this new thing called the new covenant. Don't embrace this new thing called Jesus. Just let that go. Go back to the way it was. And so the book of Hebrews is just, it's an expose, it's an essay on all the things that Jesus, you have it better with Jesus. That's the point. Better than anything he's greater than, he's more superior to, he's more than, he's better than. And so if you want to understand like who God is and what God is all about, book of Hebrews is a fantastic place because the author is just going to constantly show you that and this is what you don't want to miss, all that Jesus is the fulfillment of all the hopes and dreams of the old covenant. He's the better than that all of that was pointing to. This is the foundation. He is the building, as it were. And so that's what it's about. So first week we talked about he's better than any prophet of the old. In the old covenant, there were prophets that would tell you what God was up to. Jesus comes along better than that. Last week we talked about angels, and angels are awesome, but they're not greater than Jesus. And today, what I want to do is I want to show you that he is better than the greatest leader of the old covenant. And that's going to be Moses, greater than Moses. So if you're in your Bible, in the book of Hebrews, just jump into the 3rd chapter, and we're just going to pick this up. Now, I got to explain something just from the get-go. The 3rd chapter is so good, I just don't have time to make the point and then show you all that's in the 3rd chapter. So I really want to encourage you, take time to read this later. Read the whole thing, and I'll try to close with an explanation of why what I can't cover is so relevant. But you really want to take this a step further than what I can do here in our few moments. So let's just jump into chapter 3, verses 1 to 6 will give us the baseline that'll give us a chance to launch into an explanation as to why Jesus is better than Moses. Now, you got to understand, we're not knocking Moses. We're not saying Moses, that guy was worthless. That guy was a loser. No. He was awesome. Jesus is better than that. So Hebrews 3, 1 to 6. Therefore, holy brothers and sisters who share in the heavenly calling, fix your thoughts on Jesus, whom we acknowledge as our apostle and high priest. He was faithful to the one who appointed him, just as Moses was faithful in all of God's house. Now, Jesus has been found worthy of greater honor than Moses, just as the builder of a house has greater honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but God is the builder of everything. Now, Moses was faithful as a servant in all of God's house, bearing witness to what would be spoken by God in the future. But Christ is faithful as the Son over God's house, and we are his house, if indeed we hold firmly to our confidence and the hope in which we glory. Now, for us to make sense of this, we have to understand something. We have to understand how great Moses was. And kind of to get you thinking about that, Moses was used to redeem the nation of Israel. Now, you might remember at the very beginning, and I'm going to do this in a couple parts, but you might remember when Moses was a little kid, they were killing off Hebrew boys, remember this? And his mom threw a hand, plucked him put him into the Nile River and got plucked out by Pharaoh's daughter. He grew up a very privileged person in Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh's the king. It was all because Pharaoh's daughter found this basket and little baby Moses was in it. He grew up a very privileged young man. But he knew he was different. He was a Hebrew. He was not an Egyptian. And so what happens is, and this is about, I'm doing this from memory, about the 3rd chapter of the book of Exodus. He goes out and he sees that an Egyptian is beating up a Hebrew guy. He's beating up an Israelite. And Moses just kind of looks around. He's an Egyptian by, virtue of his adoption. He looks around, he doesn't see anybody. So he kills the Egyptian because the guy was pounding on one of his own. And so he kills him and he hides him in the sand. That's exactly what it says. The next day he goes out and he sees 2 Israelites, 2 Hebrews fighting against each other. And he breaks them up. He goes, "What are you doing?" And then the one says, "What, are you going to kill one of us like you did the Egyptian?" He realizes he was found out. That was now known. And so at 40 years of age, he heads off to Midian to just hide in the desert. He's done. He's checked out. I'm tapping out. My life is over. He goes out for 40 years, and then he has, at the end of 40 years, he's about 80 now, he has an encounter that you might be familiar with, the burning bush. The bush is burning. It's not being consumed. He walks over and looks at it. It says, a voice comes out of it, "Take your shoes off. You're standing on hallowed ground. And Moses, I have a mission for you." And this is all weird. It's like totally weird, okay? He knows he's encountering God, and God is basically saying, "I need you to go back to Egypt, and I need you to set my people free. I need you to set my people free." And he's like, I don't think so. And so he has to go through a whole lot of gymnastics. Now, let me explain something that you got to get. He's going to go down, and I'm going to give you a little more detail on this because I think you need to understand it a little bit more in just a moment. He goes down, he gets them out. He is the greatest leader that the Israelites ever would imagine they could have. He is absolutely the greatest. He is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. It's interesting. In our culture, we're constantly debating and arguing over who's the GOAT, and like in sports. And so I don't know what you think. Who is it? Is it Tiger Woods or Jack Nicholson? Who is it? Is it Michael Jordan or is it LeBron James? You get the idea, right? Is it Tom Brady or is it Patrick Mahomes? Now, everyone's got an opinion about this. And you can use stats, you can do whatever. And by the way, I'm just going to chase a little rabbit here. Do you know that in Kansas City, there's a debate, which if you have no football history, this won't mean anything, that the old folks remember the GOAT that was Lynn Dawson. Lynn Dawson was the greatest quarterback. I mean, he was the GOAT. And then comes this young kid, Patrick Mahomes. And now there's this debate going on there. There's something within us that wants to, debate and figure out like who is the greatest of all time. Here's all you need to understand to get this. It's undisputed. It's Moses. Moses is the GOAT. Moses is the GOAT. Moses is the guy that every Hebrew kid growing up wants to grow up to be like. He's the guy that everyone wants to, when they're on the playground at their little school, and they're playing, they're playing a game. Moses is, I get to be Moses today. No, you were Moses yesterday. No, but I'm still Moses. He was the guy. When they would go trick-or-treating, everyone would dress up as Moses. Okay? Moses, his jersey was the #1 selling jersey of all time in history. Everybody wants to be him. That's all you got to understand. Even Hollywood understands how great Moses was. Think of the movies that you've seen Moses in. It's just this idea you got to get. He is very, very important. Now, to understand why is he so important, let me walk you through a little history. Now, I'm going to walk you through the book of Genesis quickly, not from the very beginning, but I'm going to explain a couple things. that'll hopefully make this make sense where you go, okay, I can make this connection now. So in Genesis, you have the story of what are called the patriarchs. The first is Abraham, and then he has a son named Isaac, and he has a son named Jacob. So Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons through 4 different wives, okay, or women would be a more, so you read all that, all right? Of the 12 sons of Jacob, the 11th one was Jacob's favorite son. That guy's name was Joseph. Joseph was his favorite son because he came from his favorite wife. And save the best for last. And then his second favorite one, you could argue, was the 12th one, one named Benjamin, all right? So you got to understand this. So everybody knows that Joseph, the 11th, is the favored son of the father, and the first 10 just can't stand him because they feel like he's a little prima donna, and he loves kind of, his dad would do special. They gave him a special coat of many colors, and he kind of wore it around arrogantly, and he'd have these dreams and visions and about how great, he was, and his brothers just hated him. So his brothers decide they're going to get rid of him. So basically, and again, just a lot of story really fast, but basically they decide to kill him out in the desert, but instead there's a caravan headed down to Egypt. So they decide, why don't we just sell him off as a slave, get something for him? And so they do that. They sell off their brother. They haul him down, and through a whole lot of stuff going on down there, they think they'll never see this guy again. They're done with him. And he's down there, and a lot of story, don't have time to tell you. He rises to power in Egypt so high that he actually becomes the number 2 guy in all of Egypt. He is the right hand to the Pharaoh himself. This is not Moses. This is Joseph before Moses, all right? And so Joseph is like really, really important. Well, there's a famine going on, and part of his job is to make sure that they've stored up enough food and they're ready for whatever is coming. So what happens is this famine hits Israel. I don't know if you know your geography, but Israel, Egypt, Mediterranean, they're connected right there, Sinai, all right? So the father, who now realizes he's lost one of his sons because his brother convinced him he was killed, and so now he's got 11 sons, and he wants to keep the youngest one because he's his next now favored. So he sends his 10 sons down to Egypt to talk to whoever it is in charge of all the food to get some food. So his brothers go down there, excuse me, and they encounter their brother, whom they sold. They don't know who he is. He knows who they are, and it's a little game of cat and mouse for a while. Finally, he reveals it, and they're scared to death that he's going to seek revenge. And that's when that classic line that comes in Genesis 50, you meant this for harm, you meant this for evil, but God meant this for good. And it's a good thing I'm here. Go get your dad, get your other brother, and come down here. They do. They all come down, and they live in what's called the land of Goshen. They live in like the Nile Delta area. It's beautiful. And life is awesome. It is as cool as it can be because they're the favored family of the favored son of the favored Pharaoh. And then he dies. The Pharaoh dies. When the Pharaoh dies, what happens is a new sheriff comes to town who doesn't know Joseph, doesn't have any history, doesn't care about Joseph's family, and he gets wind that there's now so many of these people in these families, they're going to take over Egypt. So they decide to enslave them. All of this is relevant, trust me. We're going to make slaves out of them. And for 400 plus years, they enslave now the people of Israel. They are slaves in Egypt. They can't go home. They won't let them go home. And then they start to cry out to God, please, please, please. So let me just pick this story up. And again, I'm going to fire so many, I'm going to bring them up on the screen because I want to move quick. I want you to see this, okay? Exodus 2:23. Just look at the screens. And again, normally we're going to be in Hebrews 3. It's the text. But I just need you to see the backstory, all right? Exodus 2:23 says, During that long period, the king of Egypt died. That's Pharaoh. The Israelites groaned in their slavery, and they cried out, and their cry for help, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groanings, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, the father, the patriarch, with Isaac and his son Jacob. All right, you got all those guys. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. They're crying out to God, get us out of here, save us. In Numbers chapter 20, verse 14, you know all about the hardships that have come to us or on us. Our ancestors went down to Egypt, and we lived there many years. The Egyptians mistreated us and our ancestors, but when we cried out to the Lord, he heard our cry, and he sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. All right? So they cry out, and God is listening, and he is hearing. Exodus 3 says this, verse 7. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Who's he talking to? Moses. So the message in the bush, I need you to go rescue them. I need you to go redeem them. I need you to go save them. I need you to go set them free. And Moses is like, oh, you got the wrong guy. And yet that's exactly what he does. And again, speaking through a lot of story, he goes and he sets them free. This is why Moses is the hero. He stood toe to toe with Pharaoh. And you know the 10 plagues and all of that, all right? So that's why Moses is such a big deal. You go, how do you top that? Okay, ready? This is where this gets to you and me. Our problem is not we're slaves in Egypt. That's not our issue. Our problem is we are slaves to something else. We are slaves to a very oppressive ruler who's literally beating us up and just trying to destroy our lives and hold us in bondage to his purposes. You see, we're bound, not by chains in Egypt. We're bound by sin in our lives. We're bound by decisions we've made that we can't release ourselves from. We're bound by bad choices we've all made. And please understand, we all have this. Adam began the process, and so we have a nature that wants to rebel against God. You don't have to try to rebel against God. It's in you, all right? In fact, it says it this way in Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, that's Adam, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people because all sinned. Let me explain something about sin. Sin is not a word we ever talk about in public anymore. The only place you'll ever hear the word sin now is in church, and that is becoming more and more rare. Let me make sure we understand what sin is. Sin is rebellion against God. God is your creator, and sin, and I always say it this way, this has always made the most sense to me. God says, go that way. I say, no. I turn my back on God, and I commit to go that way. I'm going that way. As if somehow God trying to get me to go that way is in his best interest, but not my best interest. If I go that way, it's not in his best interest, but it's in my best interest. We have come to convince ourselves that Satan is for us and God is against us. That Satan wants to give you something that God doesn't want you to have. And God wants to keep you from something that Satan would love for you to experience. And guys, just think it through. It's how it works. We mentally play this game. Here's what I need you to understand. God would never suggest you go that way unless that way was your best plan. It's your best plan. And God would never say that way is bad if that way was good. He would never say that way was bad if that way was good. He's always going to tell you the truth. And you, if you just want to serve your best interest, just do what God says. He always has your best interest at heart. Now, I know we don't believe this, and I know every time I sin, I think I might have found a loophole, God, that I don't think you know about. I think I found an exception to your rule, but that's what sin is. It's just turning your back. Now, what we discover is that these things that we thought were going to bless our lives, and I could spend an hour and a half talking about how this works. I'm not going to. What happens is we start realizing, you know what? What I thought was going to be so good has turned out so bad. And then you discover something. You're in a swamp. You can't get out. You can't extricate yourself from it. You're stuck. And this thing that was supposed to bring you so much joy starts bringing you so much misery. Now, you got to personalize that to your own life. I don't have time to go through all the possibilities. This is what always happens, though. It was supposed to be so freeing. And I thought I could just stop whenever I wanted to stop. I thought I could just get out as if there would be no consequences to rebelling against your Creator. There's always consequences. I've said this to you before, but let me just say this again, because I think this is so worth remembering. I've said it this way. Sin takes you farther than you wanted to go. Always takes you farther than you wanted to go. You didn't plan to go that far. Sin just takes you farther. Sin, too, it keeps you longer than you wanted to stay. I didn't want to park here. I didn't want to live here. I just wanted to visit this. It takes you farther than you wanted to go, further, and keeps you longer. And tragically, it costs you more than you wanted to pay. It just costs you more. Takes you further, keeps you longer, costs you more. And the result of it is that you spiritually die. And you're trapped. You're like a mouse on one of those strips with the glue. You're just stuck. You can't. Why didn't somebody tell me this was a trap? God did tell you. Sin always results in death. Genesis 2:16, and the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die. God says, all of this is good and it's all for you, but not this one thing, and that's the one thing we fixate on. The one thing God said, not that. Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death. And here's what you got to understand. Death and the fear of death haunt all of us. Because it hunts us down and we're doing everything we can do to avoid it. Because we understand the price. Jesus, by the way, let me say something just to be clear. Jesus didn't send angels to save you, and Jesus didn't come to earth to save angels. Jesus came himself to save you because you're that important to him. That's what you've got to understand. For you to understand why Jesus is better than Moses. So, Jesus comes along, and in fact, let me say it this way. Let me take you back to the book of Hebrews, chapter 2, verse 14. Since the children, that be you and me, have flesh and blood, he too shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might break the power of him who holds the power of death, and that is the devil. He has come to set you free. Not from slavery in Egypt, but from sin and death. And by the way, just so you know, the name Jesus literally means save, to save. Yahweh and Yeshua are just, Yahweh is salvation. His name means salvation, all right? His purpose of coming. We think he came to send us to hell. He didn't come to send you. You were on your way to hell. He came to keep you from being bound forever in hell. Matthew 1:21. Remember this in the birth narrative of Jesus? She will give birth to a son, and you're to give him the name Jesus because he will save his people from their sins. That's why he came. John 3:17, for God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Colossians 1:13, for he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness. This is the point of Jesus. And so I would say this is the big idea. And why is Jesus so great? Why is Jesus better than Moses? Because Jesus is the solution to your biggest problem. That's why. Not Moses, Jesus. Now let's just go back. I just got to show you one thing, and I'm going to do this really quickly. I want to go back and I want to read this text again. I want you to see the contrast, what the author is doing. He's trying to tell you why Moses is great, but he's also trying to show you why Jesus is greater. Let me do this very, very quickly, all right? Moses was, in fact, let's read the text just one more time, Hebrews 3:1-6. Therefore, holy brothers and sisters who share in the heavenly calling, fix your thoughts on Jesus, whom we acknowledge as our apostle and high priest. He was faithful to the one who appointed him, just as Moses was faithful in all God's house. Jesus has been found worthy of greater honor than Moses, just as the builder of a house has greater honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, God is the builder of everything. Moses was faithful as a servant in all God's house, bearing witness to what would be spoken by God in the future. That's to Jesus. But Christ is faithful as the son of over God's house. And we are his house, if indeed we hold firmly to the confidence and the hope in which we glory. Now, let me just show the contrast here. Let's talk about Moses, okay? Moses was, one, God's faithful servant. That's the word. He was God's faithful servant. And what the Bible tells us about him, not just here but elsewhere, is in about 5 things. He was a prophet. He was called by God, the bush. He was reluctant to obey. He was inadequate in every way. And if you know the story, I can't speak, I can't do this. And he was, without a doubt, a sinner. And then it says he served in the house of God. And then you see the word in. He served in the house of God, the household of God. Okay? It's an earthly household. Now, Jesus, by contrast, Moses was God's faithful servant. Jesus is God's faithful son. See the difference? It's right there. The word tells us about Jesus, he was also sent on a mission. In fact, there's a little statement in there that you probably didn't pick up. I want to show you something. Do you know that Hebrews 3:1, right there, look down in your text, you see what it says? Whom we acknowledge as our apostle. You never think of Jesus as an apostle, but apostle means a sent one. Jesus was sent here for you, to set you free. He was on a mission. That's why he came. He was sent on this mission by his Father. Second thing I would tell you is he was willing. When he wasn't reluctant, read Philippians 2. In Philippians 2, he clearly chose to give up his place in heaven. And literally he emptied himself of everything he had so he could come rescue us. He was adequate. This was the third thing I would tell you. 1 Peter 1:18-20 says, for you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you were redeemed from the empty way of life handed down to you from your forefathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. He was perfect sacrifice because he was sinless, which is the next thing I want to tell you. He was sinless. 2 Corinthians 5:21. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Do you see what's going on? He came to fix the problem of our lives. He came to rescue you. And Moses served in the house of God, but I want you to see where Jesus served. He served over. See the difference? Not in, over. Now, I just want to point out 3 things and I'll finish. 3 things I want to show you, and I'll show you scripture, okay? He is, and I'll talk more about this in the future, he is our high priest. Most of us have no idea what that means or why that is important. We'll get there. But it says this in Hebrews 4:15. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, or empathize, We have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Now let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. You're stuck on that strip of glue and you feel like you're never going to get free. You're invited into the throne room. God has literally invited you through Jesus. Come in here. Tell me what your problems are. Tell me what your issues are. He's our high priest. He's our substitute would be the second thing I would say. Ephesians 1:7, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished upon us. God didn't like, I got a little grace here, so he stuck his finger, the thumb and a couple fingers in, and I'm just going to put a little dash of grace. I'm going to give away a dash of grace. I know, Cal, you're screwed up and you need help. Here, let me just give you a little dash of grace. Mm-mm. He lavished his grace on us. He took the whole thing and just freely. It makes no sense. Why would you be so generous, God? Because that's who he is. And so he became the substitute. Jesus died for you. He died in your place. He died. He took what you have coming, he took for you. He's your high priest. He stands between you and God. And he is your intermediary, but he is your substitute. He died so you don't have to die. And he is our Savior. Ephesians 1:7, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished on us. What's the point? The point is Jesus is the solution to your greatest problem, to my greatest problem, to our greatest problem. So here's where I'm going to close. I just need you to understand, all you need is Jesus. And I know that sounds cliche. I'm just telling you, I've lived this life. All you need is Jesus. There's nothing that's going to come that's going to be newer and better than Jesus. Okay? Now here's where I need you to follow this. If you want to use this way to get there, you want to use this way. Every one of these things is pointing to Jesus. You need directions. You need a direction. It doesn't matter where you get it. This is the best way to get it. It's the easiest way to get it. All you need to do is look to Jesus. He's who you're looking for. He's who you're longing for. He's everything you need. And it's not going to get any better than that. Let me pray. Okay, God, thank you for your word. And God, as we continue to read in the book of Hebrews, which we can't right now, but as we read even the rest of this chapter, we realize that we're stubborn and we're obstinate and we're not just going to come out of slavery, out of Jesus. No, we're going to wander in 40 years of craziness because we won't just simply trust you and obey. But God, can we skip the 40 years of wilderness wandering and just, as you redeem us and rescue us and pull us out of the pit, wash us and purify us and cleanse us. God, can we just get serious about following you now and head to a better destination? God, thank you for your word. Thanks for the clarity of your word. God, thank you that we have this book. When we study the book of Hebrews, we will come to know you better. And we just thank you for this. So, to that end, we praise you. God, any person here who needs directions in their life, who knows they need direction in their life, God, help them to turn to you. You will bring them home into the promised land. Help them, Father, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys very much. Bless you.